Let me put you on game. Don't listen to people who lose or you'll do the same. Stop talking to people who don't give a f*** what you saying. Stop spending your money on weed, go hop on a plane. Stop pointing the finger. Welcome back to another episode of the Pursuit of Wealth podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Haley Roisum. She's the owner of Roisum Residential Photography. She's also a partner and owner of some other additional businesses with that we'll kind of talk a little bit about. So Haley, first off, I want to thank you for coming on. Appreciate your time. I know you're super busy.
Thanks for having
squeezing
me.
us in there. But I want to kind of get to know your story a little bit. You know, how did you get to where you're at today? You're young. How old are you?
I'm 30.
30. Okay. You know, how does a 30-year-old get to where you're at, owning a few different businesses? And like, what got you to become an entrepreneur? So where did life start for you? Where did you grow up?
I actually grew up in Las Vegas,
Okay.
Nevada. My family moved to Idaho when I was 11, so I kind of grew up here too.
Okay.
Most of my early childhood was spent in Las Vegas. We moved here when I was 11. I met my husband at Sand Creek Middle School, so
That's impressive.
yeah,
Middle school sweethearts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I met him there, and we've just been best friends ever since. But,
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Was it a transition? I mean, you were 11, but coming from Las Vegas, Nevada to Idaho, Falls, Idaho.
Yes.
Was that a bit of a transition?
Very much so. I remember driving past like Toffus Park and the camels were there, and I was like, where are we? Like, this is so weird. So yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a culture shock, but
Yeah.
I grew into it pretty quick, and
What-
we've loved it.
What brought your family here?
My parents like to joke that they threw a dart at a map and
Interesting.
landed here, but they did have some friends that moved from Las Vegas to Rexburg, and they
Okay.
had talked to them about that, and they were like, our kids do chores now. They have an allowance. They have to pay for their own movie ticket. And my parents were like, oh, that sounds great. Like, let's put our kids to work.
We need to go raise them in Idaho.
Yeah, exactly. So,
That's hilarious.
Yeah, they just really liked the family-oriented aspect that they find here. So.
The culture. Cool.
Yeah.
Because most of the time it's like, what brought you here? It's like the INL or a job. But
right.
So they kind
They
of
were self-employed. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's funny is just coming from real estate, you'll laugh at this. They had been self-employed, and they basically found a house on the hill that they liked, and they told the lender, like, yeah, we make, I don't know how much they made at the time. And they were like, okay, you're approved for the loan. Like, that was it. It was just like, all right, sounds good. And
Yeah.
So
no income verification.
no income verification,
Yep.
just took their word for it.
It's
So
crazy.
It
Yeah.
was wild.
So then you went to Sand Creek Middle School. You met your husband, Chris, there.
Yep.
Were you guys middle school, high school sweethearts?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we've been best friends since then. So
That's incredible.
yeah,
Cool. How was high school for you? Were you a good student?
yeah, I
Okay.
was. I was really academically oriented. Like, I really liked school. I liked learning. I tried to get my hands on as many things as I could. I took the CNA program my senior year, so
Okay.
I could hop out and be a CNA, which I found out I didn't like.
Yep.
So that was good to get that out of the way really fast, because I thought that I wanted to be a nurse.
Yep.
So just wasn't for me. I mean,
Yeah.
wasn't a thing. So yeah, I mean, I graduated high school with, I think, like 30 something college credits.
Wow.
So it definitely got me on a
impressive.
fast track to, do college. And like, it just wasn't an option not to go to college
Yeah.
in my house. I mean, my parents were like, we'll pay for it, but you have to go. Like,
Yeah.
so that was really nice. I mean, obviously not a lot of people get that privilege of being able to be college educated with no loans.
For sure.
I did take advantage of that.
Where'd you go to college?
BYU, Idaho.
Okay.
I hated every second.
You were well prepared. I mean, with 30
Yeah.
credits and stuff. What did you decide to study?
So I wanted to go into psychology.
Okay.
Chris went on an LDS mission soon after we graduated, and I was like, I want to finish this in 2 years. Like, I want to get my bachelor's degree by the time he gets home.
Wow.
So I was like, gung ho about it. And I found out later that with the psychology program, I couldn't fit as many credits into a semester as I needed to
Yeah.
have that done. So I switched over to child development and had
Interesting.
a minor in psychology.
Really?
Yep.
Even this backstory shows how ambitious you are. To
I'm going to graduate with 30 credits and then I'm going to finish this in 2 years.
Yeah.
And this isn't going to allow me to finish in 2 years. So I'm going to switch it up. And
Right.
do this.
Sometimes I wonder who that girl was because some days I'm like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed today. Like, this is rough. But
hey, we all get there. No,
Yeah.
that's so cool though. So my wife, Bree, she did something similar in high school. She did the CNA and she thought she wanted to be a nurse and quickly realized as soon as she got her CNA and did a little bit of work in there, she's like, that's not really what I want to do.
No. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people.
And I know nursing's a little bit different and you definitely don't have to do like the dirty work of the CNA stuff, but it just, healthcare in general just wasn't my forte.
Yeah. So. It's a tough field to be in. It's like a lot of people, I mean, caring for people can be emotionally taxing. Yeah. And I think that's what Bree kind of realized too. Yeah. So, graduating college, so were you able to do that in 2 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I had one semester left once Chris got home from his mission. So he got home in July. We were married in August. He actually proposed off the plane. So
really?
So he got off the plane and then drove to my house and
proposed that day.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
That was, a lot of fun. I said yes, obviously. And then, I had one more semester left. So I went to school from September to December just to get my internship done and was finished.
That's incredible.
So missed it by a semester, but that's okay.
That's still incredible. Yeah. I went to school for 2 years and actually over 2 years and all I got was an associate. So you got a full bachelor's. So what happened after graduation? What did you do?
Yeah. So we moved to Boise. Chris decided to go to school at Boise State. So that kind of brought us out there. My sister was out there. His sister was out there. So he had some family out there as well. And he took a semester at Boise State while I just kind of looked for jobs and chilled. I mean, we had a little bit of money saved up, so it wasn't like urgent for me to get a job or anything. But while I was out there, I got hired as a showing assistant because I had my real estate license as well. So I forgot to mention that. So
when did you get that?
During one of my off tracks at BYU, Idaho.
So if going to school wasn't enough, you just like, let me throw in my real estate license in the middle.
I found out that you could take 12 credits while you're off track. So I maxed those out because you couldn't you had to be a student for so long before you could go 3 times a year or whatever because they have the trimesters. So I don't know, they're dumb rules, but so I decided to take up to 12 every semester that I could while I was off. And so I just took night classes during one of my off tracks and got licensed.
What encouraged that? Like why real estate? Why'd you get your real estate license?
My mom was in real estate. She was like, oh, I could use a little bit of help just with odds and ends, getting showing feedback from agents and just things like that. So I got licensed just to help with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got hired on as a showing assistant in Boise.
In Boise, yeah.
How was that? Did you like being a showing assistant?
No.
You quickly learned that wasn't what you wanted to do?
Yeah, not my thing. I am still in awe of people that can do that and show houses all day. That is exhausting to me. It is so much work.
Yeah.
I was only a showing assistant for a little while, and then my mom was like, "Why don't you move back home? We've got a spot here, and I really need help." So that's what brought us back. So we were in Boise for about a year. And then my mom was like, please move home.
Was Chris, so I went to real estate school with Chris. Did he get licensed before or after you guys went to Boise?
After.
So you guys had come back. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
And then Chris got licensed. You were working with your mom at that time? Mm-hmm. Okay. What were you doing for her?
I had started as a listing coordinator, so I would input all the listings into the MLS. Okay. I like the back end, task, mundane kind of stuff of real estate. That really is good for my brain, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I did a lot of that stuff for her. And then they had hired a transaction coordinator to help with our other transaction coordinator, Laura, at the time. And she quit after 2 days. Oof. And I was like, why don't I just help her with transactions, and then we can hire somebody else to do the listings because transactions are a little bit more, I don't know, involved. They take a little bit of extra time and effort. So I was like, I'm already here. You may as well just train me to do the little bit extra and then we can hire somebody else to do listings. So that's kind of how I got into that. So I did transaction coordination for 4 years.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so did you, you enjoy that, the kind of the processes, just kind of, you seem very, when somebody gives you a process or a task. I mean, looking at your college credits, trying to figure out how to do that in 2 years, like you're just like, get it done and knock it out. Yeah. Okay. So you were there for 4 years. Where did you go from being a transaction coordinator?
So I worked for a team here in town that actually merged with another team.
Yeah.
And so at the time, I had also been like dabbling in marketing, and I edited all of their pictures while I was doing transaction coordination. So I had been doing that forever. And once they merged, they offered me a full-time marketing position. So that was way funner to me than transaction coordination. So I took that on and went into that and did that for 2 years before I left on my own. Okay. So.
What, had you ever thought like going to school and all that? Did you ever think that you wanted to run your own business?
It had always been like kind of in the back of my mind. Like during school, I really liked to bake. And so I was like, what if I owned my own bakery one day? And like, just, you know, it's always kind of there like, oh, what if I did this? Or what if I did that? I mean, I had a couple Etsy shops that like, whenever I would like make cards or whatever, I would like just put them on Etsy. So like, I feel like I was always like kind of entrepreneur minded. Yeah. But both of my parents were like career people. Like they like started from the bottom and went to the, you know? Yeah. And so, both of them climbed ladders, and that was just like kind of what I saw, but they also owned their own business at one point as well. So it's like, I saw both sides of it and didn't know exactly, you know, what to do with that information. So I just kind of was always dabbling in like one thing or the other. Yeah. And so did you enjoy working for somebody else? Was there, did you ever have it where like, because I talked to entrepreneurs and some are like, oh, the reason I started my own business is because I hated working for somebody else. Right. What was the trigger for you? Like, why go off on your own? I got mad enough one day that I had asked for a raise. Okay. So here's the thing. When I was offered the marketing position, I was offered a salary that was less than what I was making previous, which was about $10,000 a year. But I enjoyed, you know, marketing. And so I was like, okay, like maybe I'll take this hit, and if I enjoy it, I'll ask for a raise later. Yeah. And so it had been almost 2 years, like I had said, and I asked for a raise because I was still making the same amount 2 years later. And so I was like, okay, like I think it's time, like even just with inflation and everything, like, hey, you know, can I get a raise? This is how much I was making as a transaction coordinator, and this is how much I'm making now. And I just kind of got radio silence for a bit, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give myself a raise. I was like, you know, I just get to the point where I was like so frustrated that like at that point it finally clicked, like, oh, somebody else is controlling what I'm making and like my lifestyle. And I didn't really like that. So I, did that for myself. I don't know. It's kind of like a funny, like.
No, it's cool. I like to see like what triggered that.
Yeah.
That
it's just a frustration thing. Yeah. And I loved the team that I was with, and like I cried when I was gone, but you know, it was the right thing to do and the right timing. So.
You just said, I'm going to take my income into my own control, essentially. Yep. And obviously like being the ambitious person that you are and you know, having that motivation, there's no doubt that I'd like see you doing that eventually. Like, it's really hard hiring employees. It's like, a lot of the times when they're super ambitious like that, eventually, they are going to kind of just leave and go do their own thing. And so your back history, I'm like, it seems like it fits. Like, I'm not surprised that you went off and did that. It
checks out. Yeah.
So, I mean, leaving, you'd been working for somebody for like the last 6 years, essentially, right? Was it scary? Yeah. Going off on your own? Did you have a game plan?
Nope. No. So, and what's funny is Chris is so like even keel, level-headed, like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, he's very much like a safety and security kind of person. And at the time he had been working road construction during the summers, and that was like our only source of income from him. And so, and this was like toward the end of the summer. And I was like, I'm going to do this. He was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'm writing up my 2 weeks notice right now. Like, I was like, and he was like, don't you want to like sleep on it? I was like, no, I'm sending it right now.
Like, I'm just getting it done. just doing
And
it.
I could tell he was just like, oh my gosh, what is she doing? But I figured out like the amount of appointments that I needed to take to replace my income. And like, I kind of thought that through, in 30 minutes, but you know, I thought about it.
For sure.
So I was like, no, like I can do this. So I just.
You like did the rough math and you're like, I think I can make this make sense.
Yep.
Yeah. So what was your plan when you went off on your own? Were you just going to do transaction coordinating or marketing or what was your?
The photos. I mean, that was like my favorite part of my business was editing the photos.
Yeah.
And at one point, Chris was actually working for the same team as their runner who took photos for them and then I would edit them. Okay. So we had already kind of been a team at one point.
Yeah.
But when I very first started, he was still doing road construction for the first month and a half.
Okay.
And so I was just doing that all on my own, but that was like my favorite part was doing the photos. And so, like I can do it.
I can do it. What were those numbers? Like, what did you come up with? If you can remember, like,
So at the time I only needed to have one appointment a day to replace the income that I was at.
Okay.
So
you're like, 30,
I can do that.
Like 30 appointments a month.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. What did that year one look like for you? What was business like?
It was unbelievable.
Okay. How many appointments were you starting out? Was it like you were able to do the one a day? Mm-hmm. Okay. Where did it grow within that first year?
I don't know what it is from like start point to a year later, but like our first full year from like January to January, we did 938 appointments, I think.
938?
Close to that, yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So like
2,000.
Basically you 3x'd what your potential was.
Yeah.
And that was year one, first 12. And how long have you been doing it?
This will be our third year.
Third year.
Yep.
What did you guys end up doing last year appointment wise?
I haven't counted.
Okay.
Yeah. Revenue, I did double.
Okay. So you probably did a few price increases, but maybe even close to 2,000.
It would be close
appointments.
To. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
I'm like, you guys, and really, I've just been impressed with how fast you guys have grown in our marketplace.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't. You guys do all of our listing photography.
Yeah.
But like, you guys are the dominant player. I think you guys do a majority of that. If we look at how many transactions are in the MLS, it's like 4,500 in Bonneville County. Mm-hmm. Let's say half. I guess each one has a listing eventually. So that's like almost half the inventory that you guys are doing the photography for. Mm-hmm. It's a big market share. And you've only been in business for 3 years.
Right.
So what do you feel like, what's kind of set you guys apart?
I think a lot of it has to do with my experience in the industry.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, like, I always say, like, I can't have done this without, or I couldn't have done this without the realtors in this industry. Like, they were so good to me when I first started. And just, like, working from, like, transaction coordination, I knew how difficult it was to, like, get people to leave their current person. So whoever that was, whether it was like an inspector or whatever, we would have people come to us and it's like, well, we're already using so-and-so and they do a great job. So why would we switch, Yep. But the realtors in this community just like took a chance on me and they were like excited about it and like, oh, I've got a listing coming up. Like, let me use you. And so that to me was like such a blessing.
Yeah.
And I'm like forever grateful for that because I couldn't have done that without them. And I think it just was like word of mouth from there.
Yeah.
And then a lot of marketing on social and.
Yeah, you guys kill it with your marketing.
Thank you.
But even like taking a chance on you guys, like you had to perform.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one thing that you guys have in really like in our experience using you guys always perform. You guys are always there. You guys are always on time. And then you even squeeze us in last minute and stuff on special occasions. So like you guys have, every entrepreneur that I look at that's super successful, it's because they truly care about their business.
Yeah.
And going from a 9 to 5, because remarketing essentially weren't, I guess you're on salary, but you were kind of done right after 5 or 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
How was that transition from like being an employee to becoming a business owner?
Oh, that was rough. I had to learn boundaries and I'm still getting better at it. Like,
yeah.
But after last year, I realized that I couldn't take appointments on weekends anymore. That was just like a thing. Like my mental health suffered so much last year just from not taking breaks. And so last summer when we got really busy, I was sleeping about 3 hours a night and it really took a toll. And so I could tell Chris was like, is this going to like break her? Like, is she going to be okay? And yeah, from there, I've just kind of learned like boundaries and boundary setting. And that's been really important. Obviously I try not to like ignore people or ghost them. And I try and be polite about it. But like weekends are just a no-go. We don't do, because then I suffer the rest of the week, and I can't give my clients during the week the same level of service that I would be able to.
For sure.
So.
And recognizing that like kind of early on, it's hard because when you're growing a business, like you don't want to say no to any opportunities,
And we took everything.
Yeah.
And like we would go from like, Island Park and north to, Lava Hot Springs and Soda Springs and these places that were hours away just because we had to have the business. And so we've like learned like different techniques and things to kind of help set those boundaries. So.
Yeah. Because I, you've shared it a little bit and I've talked about it, but like burnout's a real thing,
Yeah.
like working in, like you said, it's not fair to your clients. Cause if you're not creating the boundaries for yourself, you're not giving them your full potential,
right?
Or the service that they deserve.
Yeah.
And I've realized that in our own business too. But it is so hard as a business owner to set those boundaries because you care so much about the people that you're working with.
Yeah.
And you care about growing your business.
Right.
But I think like you've done a really good job. And I think,
thank you.
Maximizing, when you do a transition like that, it's just figuring out how do I maximize my time now within that work period that I am offering to allow me to have that break.
Right.
So what does your business look like right now? Like, is it just you and Chris running it all?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's incredible.
I do have my sister that helps me on social media. So and she's kind of like just my sounding board and like, she's awesome. And just kind of behind the scenes, I feel like she never gets enough credit, but like she is incredible. So she took over our social media. It's probably about 6 months after we started.
Okay.
I had to, and she just runs with it. And like, she's the only person I think I could have trusted to do that.
It's a hard thing to let go of.
Yeah.
Like a social media page.
Yeah.
It's
got to meet like the culture of your business,
Yeah.
So like her bad horse puns and whatever, it's like, that's just us. Like we are just like, it's whatever.
Yeah.
So,
that's super cool. What, in doing the listing photography, like you guys have branched out a little bit from there, right? So you offer additional services. What do you guys offer outside of the photography?
Yeah. So I have a branch of administration now, which is transaction coordination.
Okay.
And I've got Tasca doing that, and she's incredible. I also have Jessica. Jessica's a newer addition to us, but they both run transactions. And honestly, I'm very blessed to have them. I don't have to babysit that at all. They just kind of take it and run with it. And and I know that Tasca can do a better job at it than I can. So I don't even try and like interfere. Like I know she's got it, know? So, they're both awesome. They are rock stars. They do everything right. And they are so good with their clients. So yeah.
I look at entrepreneurship. I think that's cool. And you've recognized like, she's better at it than I even am. That shows like you've become like that true entrepreneur where, you don't have to be the best at everything.
Right.
It's not how you do something, but it's like who can do that and finding those who's to put into place. Cause I learned is, to really scale, the only way to scale is through people. And you got to find the right who's to put into situations.
Absolutely.
And you're providing the opportunity because you already have an abundance of business coming in. You have a great relationships with agents. So it's like, who can I also bring into the business to help scale other avenues? Yeah. Which is, what a true entrepreneur looks at. And I've been super impressed because I swear it's like, we're adding TC services, we're adding this, we're adding that. You have closing baskets too, right? That you do like closing basket material.
Yeah. My mom and I do that together.
Okay.
Yeah. We've got like a little laser that you can engrave special things on it or whatever, but we have a ton of cutting boards and that's kind of our inventory. And then we have little doodads that you can add to it.
So cool. You've basically taken what you've known, like real estate, and like added these kind of vertically integrated within that of what additional services can we add outside of just photography. Because if you're doing 2,000, appointments, it's a lot of transactions that you could be a part of in other aspects. Yep. Like if you're doing TC services on 1,000 transactions, it's a lot of potential right there. Right. So that's super cool. What did you like looking back 5 years ago? Did you imagine you'd be where you're at right now?
No, I mean, 5 years ago, I was not doing well, actually. Yeah. 25 actually was like my hardest year of life thus far. Struggled a lot with my mental health. Struggled just in pretty much every aspect of life. It was really tough. So 5 years ago, I would be surprised that I'm even alive today. But
really,
yeah.
Was that 5 years ago? You were working as a TC?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
What was so hard about that? Do you feel like?
A lot of things. So I'm very empathetic, and I feel like with TC work, I was just constantly delivering bad news, and feeling that every single day for multiple clients was really difficult. I know a lot of people that find joy in TC work, and like Task is one of them. She just is, she loves it. She just gets her tasks done and she's done,
Yeah.
and that was not me. I felt it way too much. And so that was a big part of it and a big reason why it was difficult.
Are you, would you consider yourself like a people pleaser?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's made it tough to like take me a while to set boundaries and,
Yeah. My wife's the same way. She's very much a people pleaser. And so, yeah. You seem like it too, like a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Where she wants things to be perfect.
Right.
And it's just not the reality in the TC world. Like,
right.
There's
No.
always things
It's
that come.
always something.
Yeah.
If nothing's going wrong, it's like your little antennas go up and it's like, what's going on?
Something should be going wrong here.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like if you're running transactions and there's not anything going wrong, you're probably just not running enough transactions because there's just always something that comes up.
Yeah.
And you were part of a very large team that was running a lot of transactions. So of course there's going to be fires on a daily basis that have to be put out. And I think did that just really like open you up to realizing that's not really what you wanted to do? That wasn't your forte.
Which was why it was a big reason why I took the marketing job, even at a pay cut, because it was like, I got to get out of here. Like, I got to do something different. So.
Yeah. Did, looking back, like, would you have changed anything the route you went?
No. I think about that a lot. And I think, like, the things that I've learned were just meant to be.
Yeah.
So.
You've come to peace with that. I look at that too. And I think every business owner does.
Yeah.
Especially looking at like the business that you've built, you're always like, did I go the right way? Did I not go the right way? But I think you can only connect the dots when you look back. And so you can only say like, I did this because of this. You don't know in the moment. Right. But you just take the opportunities as they come.
For sure.
And you don't know what's going to happen or come of those, but typically they're good things. What's something that, you didn't realize getting into business that you wish you would have realized before you started a business?
Oh, there's so many things. What a good question. It's definitely not like all like making money and like, being an entrepreneur is tough. And it's like, that joke they say where it's like, I traded in my 9 to 5 so I could work 24/7. That's it. Like, it really is just, regardless of if you are setting boundaries and taking time off, and you can't control other people and what they do. And so you will still have people ask you like, hey, can you take an appointment on the weekend? And I just had to learn like, what's my response to this? And to learn to not be like apologetic about it has been really hard, but I mean, we're getting there.
It's hard, especially if you're a people pleaser, like you want to make sure people are happy.
Of course.
And so that is hard, and props to you for sticking through that.
Thank you.
Like, I think that's, like you said, you trading in your 9 to 5 to work 24/7. I think that's a lot of things it's probably the number one thing that people don't think of when they start their own business.
Right.
Because everybody I talk to typically becomes self-employed or starts their own business because like, I want flexibility. Yeah. It's like, that's great. Yeah. But you have to earn flexibility when running a business. Like,
you got to hustle to get there.
Yeah. You have to put in those few years of hard work where it is going to be a lot, and you're going to probably work twice as many hours as you were previously, but eventually in the hopes of like, you're going to scale it out to where you can have that time. Yep. I think at the end of the day, everybody's, in it to buy back their own time so they can have time freedom, essentially. So I'm glad you shared that. Where do you feel like, where do you want to grow in the next 5 years?
I would love to see more transaction coordinators and like kind of take on that side of the business. I know there's a huge need for it. And what's funny is I don't think people realize that they need it until they're busy. We get that a lot. Like, oh yeah, once I'm busier. And it's like, no, you can leverage this and not have to be taking on, 20 transactions in a month. Like if you do one transaction a month, we've scaled all of our systems so that it's actually meant to build their business as well. So we have systems in place that help them get like Google reviews and just make sure that like their client is so well taken care of that word of mouth will get them more business. So it's not just like I'm too busy, take this. It's like I want to build my business. And this is the person that can do it. So we like to say that we essentially pay for ourselves, because like you'll pay for us through the transaction, but hopefully through that one, we'll bring you another. So
you guys do marketing and stuff with that as well?
Okay. Just through our own Facebook page. So I do have some things that we'll do like on the back end that are like a la carte services or whatever. So we do some marketing for agents, but every single one of our agents that does transactions through us gets like marketing on our Facebook page.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yeah. That's like you said, that's one thing that I've realized with a lot of agents. They're very, conscious of money they spend to grow their business,
which is good. Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, well, you kind of got to spend money to make more money. A lot of agents wait too long to bring somebody into their business to scale. They just want to like try to capitalize on everything themselves, but not realizing that like, hey, bringing in a transaction coordinator could allow you to, even if you did like an extra transaction a year, you probably pay for all the transaction fees with your one, So, but likely the goal would be to bring in maybe one more transaction a month by taking that off your plate. So it sounds like you really understand like the business side of real estate and how to leverage that out and build the processes.
Our goal was basically to take a single agent that wanted the leverage of a team without having to be on a team. So that was kind of our goal, is to just be a partner with them to like make it seem like they've got a team. Like, hey, can you write up this contract? Can you do this? Can you do that? Like both of our TCs are licensed, so they can do stuff like that without them having to like cut their commissions or, like that was just kind of part of the gig. So.
And with your experience, like you've seen that side of thing, and you've really been able to see like what agents need or want to be able to grow their business. Because your mom is also kind of in the real estate world. She's pretty well known for her systems and operations. How was it growing up, like watching her do her thing?
A little intimidating, to be honest. She's a superwoman. I mean, my mom takes things on like, she's just amazing. Like she will, whatever she does, she wants to be the best at it. So it's like, it's not good enough for her to just be like the best assistant. It's like, she's got to be the best assistant in the country. Like she just is like one of those people that's like, this isn't good enough until it's like the best of the best. So, but learning from her has been really helpful. And, I mean, I grew up in an environment where obviously, like I told you, like college wasn't an option. Like it just was like, you go or, you're cut off. No, I don't know. But that's just kind of the expectation that was set, was like, we were good students. We wanted to, do things the right way every time. So yeah, I mean, that helped shape a lot of that.
For sure. Did both your parents go to school or go to college?
No,
neither one
both of them went to a little bit, but neither graduated with anything.
Do you think that played a role in them wanting their kids to go? Did like watching your mom, do you think that drove you to want to, because I feel like you have some of those same qualities, like you want to be the best. I mean, looking at what you've done with the market share and the photography, it's like you guys are the best in Idaho Falls.
Thank you.
So do you feel like you have that same kind of drive and ambition as your mom?
I would say a little bit. I'm a lot less competitive, a lot more type B. Like I just want to do a good job for our people. So, and I don't get worried about like competition coming into the market. And I know, I always say, I don't know if that's bad business or good business, but I don't really pay attention to like the competition or whatever. Like I'm one of those people that truly believes that there's enough for everybody. And I try and live by like an abundance mentality. Like everybody can be successful. Everybody can, have a piece of the pie or whatever. So that to me is important. And, so I don't know. The best thing doesn't really drive me as much, I think, as my mom, but I do want to be like the best at taking care of my people. If that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. And I can see that. And again, I kind of
you.
think it realms back to what you've been building. Where like, what's the being a woman entrepreneur? You're our second female on the podcast, and I like to hear your guys' perspective because obviously, like, being a female entrepreneur is maybe a little bit harder than being a male entrepreneur, especially in like the business world. Has there been any things that you think you've had to deal with specifically just being a woman entrepreneur? And then I want to talk a little bit kind of about, your work-life balance with you and Chris.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm just naive. Like, I haven't noticed anything.
Yeah.
So, or nothing comes to mind, at least off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But
Some people say it's a struggle, but I think it kind of speaks to you're not really even, you're kind of just in your own world.
Yeah. I try and stay in my own lane. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I try not to think about the negatives and things that come with it. And obviously I know that they're there. Like, there are so many women that struggle every day to just like try and be equal and try and gain that same level of respect or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really try and like, it helps me a lot with my mental health if I just think of like the positive things and like,
Absolutely. No, I think that's awesome.
I try not to focus too much on, maybe they haven't scheduled with me because I'm a woman or whatever,
Yeah.
And I know that does happen.
Yeah.
But,
It's not something you focus on, which I love.
Right. Thank you.
And it sounds like you've got a very abundant mindset. Not caring about competition coming into the market, like that's an abundance mindset. And I love that you said like you don't really focus on any competition. You're just focused on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because we talk about that with our team a lot. It's like it's kind of bad. We don't know what else is going on out in the we don't know what other teams are really doing. We just kind of know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is working, and we just focus on that.
And you're obviously successful. So
yeah.
it's
like
yeah.
we just why care about what other people are thinking? And I think there's enough business to go around with everybody. So having Chris, because you and Chris kind of run the business together, right?
Yeah.
And me and Brie are kind of in a similar boat where we run the team together. How has that been, running a business with your spouse?
So much fun.
You guys probably spend all day together, see each other a ton. Okay.
As long as we don't have like 57 appointments, but
then Chris is probably running around.
Yeah. It is so much fun though. And we're like one of those sickening couples. It's like, we just can't like spend enough time together. There are some people like during COVID, we were laughing because a bunch of people were like, I'm going to kill my husband today. Like if he says one more word to me, I can't be in the same space. And like, Chris and I are just like, we always have been like that, just like two peas in a pod, like attached to the hip. So I love spending time with him. I love the days when it's like a little bit slower because then we do get to spend more time together. Like he'll just be on the couch watching whatever and I can do my editing there and it's so much fun.
That's awesome.
It really
I love that. And me and Brie are kind of similar. People are like, why are you guys, how do you spend all day with each other? I'm like, we love spending time with each other.
Right. That's why we got married, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly. Like, I hope you like spending time with your spouse. Has it been at all like running the business together, making decisions? Has that been hard for you guys? Or you guys kind of both have your roles within the business?
Chris is the most easygoing person. So if I'm like, hey, I think we should do this, like, well, whatever, like whatever you think, there have been a couple times where he's like, maybe we should think about this. Or like, he's never afraid to voice his opinion on things, but half the time he doesn't have an opinion on things. So it's like, if he feels strongly enough to say something about it, then I know like, okay, step back and like think about it for a second, but he really is so easygoing. And if he thinks it's like a poor idea, he'll tell me and I'll think about it and we'll talk about it together and make decisions from there. But
that's cool.
Yeah.
So he kind of trusts you and he kind of lets you make most of the business decisions, and that's cool. Do work-life balance, like this is something that we're still working on and trying to figure out, but because it's hard, you don't ever turn it off.
Yeah.
Do you guys catch yourself at home talking about the business the majority of the time? Or are you guys pretty good at turning it off and not focusing on it? How's your guys' work-life balance been?
I would say it's pretty good.
Okay.
We just know like there are certain times when things are busy and like the summertime is busy.
Yeah.
So we don't plan vacations during the summertime. We don't, but then that's what the winter's for. Like it slows down. We're able to kind of take some time and just do our thing. So, I would say, our work-life balance is good. Like we don't don't struggle too much with it.
That's good. That's awesome. Yeah. Ours, we often just catch each other, and we're trying to get better at just saying like, hey, let's just not talk business tonight.
Yeah.
But there's just so many ideas and things that you're always
Of course. Yeah.
wanting. And with your spouse being in there, you just want their input,
Right.
and you can get it right away.
Yeah.
It's not like other business partners were like, oh, I'll talk to them about that on Monday. It's
Right.
like, we just talk about it this weekend.
Yeah.
So trying to cut that off is something that we're working on, so that we're not always talking about the business.
Yeah.
But have you guys run into any difficulties running the business together? Has it been pretty smooth?
No, I mean, we've been so lucky. Like,
That's awesome.
We get along great. So.
Yeah, that's super cool. Well, and I think the important part of that is the fact that you guys maybe have established those roles, and that he allows you to make decisions. I think the biggest time where I see it with couples, because not every couple can do this. I think a lot of people will look at you guys running your business, or look at us running our business, and say, oh, I could run a business with my spouse. And it's not for everybody.
No, it isn't.
Especially like I've talked to couples where it's like, if you butt heads and you're both trying to be I don't want to say alpha, but like the main,
like the dominant
person making all the decisions, it's going to be tough because you're going to butt heads a lot.
Right.
So, but it sounds like, when one person is okay taking most of the decision making, and the other person's, willing to ride with that, me and Bree does allow me to make a lot of the decisions, but she'll voice her opinions on things, and she'll say, well, we'll try this out. And if it doesn't work, we'll go from there.
Exactly.
When you have that kind of relationship, I think then it can work.
Right.
But you got to really dive in to see like, who are you guys as a couple, and maybe lay out those roles prior to starting a business.
For sure. And I would say, like, how does that dynamic work in other ways in your life? Like, who does the finances? Is that something that you work together on? Is that something that you're constantly fighting about? What about childcare or house chores? Like, that I think is a good indicator of how a business will go. And it just gets magnified in business, because then you have all of that stuff tied together at home. So it's, I knew going into this that Chris would be, just the best supporter and business partner
to have in it. That's awesome.
Because we didn't fight about anything like that. Like, we have a really balanced home life as well. So
I think communication is the key, and being able to communicate that, a lot of those things, and like, you're right, even coming down to like the home chores and who's doing what, and responsibilities there. My business coach always says it's agreements over expectations. So if you're just expecting somebody to do something, or expecting them to fill that role,
right,
you're going to be disappointed, because most of the time they're not. But if you talk about it and have an agreement of like, here's kind of what your duties are and jobs are, and it sounds cheesy to talk about with your wife, but like, or your spouse, but it works. Yeah. Cause it's going to reduce your level of disappointment.
Right.
When somebody doesn't meet the expectations that you've not communicated, but just thought that they should do.
Right.
So I think if you can carry that, whether it's your, personal life, relationship wise, or your business life, it'll make things a lot easier. And you probably see that. I mean, your mom's been, systems and processes for everything. So you've probably developed a lot of systems and processes for everything that you guys do, and who does what within that business. So anyway, looking out, what's kind of the goal for this year? What do you guys want to hit? Do you guys have an appointment goal that you're trying to hit?
No.
I
know that's so bad. Coming from a team that was very like numbers driven, goal driven. They wanted to be the best of the best, and I mean, good for them. I just want to do a good job like that. To me, at the end of the day, it's like, I would rather have clients like you guys that like have, and not to like be stupid, but like, I would much rather just have clients that I enjoy working with at the end of the day. And that think that I do a good job. Yeah. That's like important to me. So I love working with my people like that, And so I don't really have a transaction goal in mind. I just want to, I want to help my people be successful.
Love that.
I want my clients to be successful, because then it comes back on me, like the more successful you are, hopefully the more successful I would be if you were continuing to use our services. So that to me is important, and just making sure that other people are like being risen up. Absolutely. I love that. And I love that you said my people. Like, I look at that and tying that into like kind of our businesses. There are clients that we really enjoy working with. Yeah. Like, we had one today that closed and shot me a text saying like,
we really appreciate you guys. And this has been more of a personal relationship, we feel like, than a transaction. And I know they're like, I know that's hard, but it's so true. Cause there's also people that I've worked with that I'm like, yeah, I could just focus on trying to do as many transactions as I could and work with everybody.
Right.
But I've learned that from doing that, there is the people that I actually enjoy working with. Everybody has that.
Right.
So it's like finding your tribe,
Yes.
your people that you want to work with, and just focusing on that.
Right.
And then your mentality of like building them up, I think is incredible. Like the more, if I can just build these people up,
Right.
the more successful they are, in turn, the more successful I'll be. So those are like key principles for anybody that's looking to build a business.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think if your mentality is in the right place where you're just focused on that and helping people, ultimately you're gonna have a successful business, which you've seen in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Do you ever look back and just like pat yourself on the back? Like,
sometimes, I mean, it's good to like reflect and be proud of what I've accomplished. I mean, I just try and stay humble. Like, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I'm the best at this and the best at that. But, yeah, I do think that it's pretty cool what I've been able to build. And I obviously haven't done it on my own. Like, there are so many people that have helped, but it's cool to see how far it's come.
Yeah. And the reason I ask that is because a lot of times when you are building a business, like you're just focused on building and you don't reflect on where you came, you know, 'cause saying 5 years ago, even going back 5 years, that's not a long time.
No.
And you're like, I was in a totally different situation.
Yeah. It was a different life. I mean,
different. Yeah.
So who knows what 5 years will bring? Like,
I know. And it's exciting to think about.
Yeah.
Do you and Chris, do you guys sit down and ever game plan the next 10 years, 5 years of what you want that to look like?
Not formally, but I would say like, we'll think about things that we want to do. Like, I know that real estate investing is something that we both have considered, and I would love to flip houses. Like, I love the design. I mean, Chris knows I'm constantly doing some house project. It's like half done. And, you know, he's like, are you ever going to finish this? But like, I love like designing things and colors and palettes and whatever. So I would love to like flip houses or something of the sort and hopefully make money off of that. And so we've talked about things like that are, you know, hopefully in the near future that we can do. But yeah.
That's cool. And I think that's important. That's something that we haven't done enough of. And our coach always tells us, like, you know, sit down and really plan out the next 10 years, or really focus on, because it's so hard building a business and it can be very like draining at some points.
Yeah.
You got to remember why you're doing it and like, what is the end goal?
Yeah.
And so just sitting down with like your spouse or business partners and just deciding like, what is our end goal? Where do we actually want to build this up to be? It's so important. And
I think sometimes it changes.
Absolutely.
Like, I would say that last year, our 5-year plan looks a lot different than it does today. So.
Yeah. Revisiting it. It's like setting it out, but then revisiting it.
Right.
And deciding, you know, how's this changed? How's this adapted?
Yeah.
I think it's super cool. You guys would kill it flipping some houses.
Thank you.
So, because we haven't even touched on it. You're also part owner in a home staging company as well, right?
Yeah.
How's that been? Because that's
a lot of fun.
That's a different business.
Yeah.
You and Chris own the photography business.
Yeah.
This is a business where you have other partners.
Yeah.
How's that been?
It's been a lot of fun.
Is it harder, easier, do you think, having the partners?
The same. I mean, the 5 girls that are a part of the team are just like, we all just get along so well. And it's the dynamic we are really lucky to have, because in staging, we'll have situations where it's like, okay, I don't like that rug with that couch, you know, and none of us are afraid to voice our opinions, because we all just say, okay, like, let's try something else. Like, we all have a really, I don't know, like a togetherness kind of mindset. And we just want like the end result to be really good. So everybody can voice their opinions. We have like really similar opinions, so it makes it a little bit easier that way.
Yeah.
But we always are like giving praise to each other. Like, it's just an awesome group to work with. Like,
that's cool.
It's
not a lot of partnerships can say that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people that I talk to that get into partnerships, it is hard. It can be a hard dynamic. So it's so important to be in business with the right people.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're awesome.
Sounds like you're doing that. So I'm trying to find anything that's, you know, not working for you, but you're just crushing it.
Don't come to my
You're just
house
crushing
ever, like unannounced, because it's a mess. I'm not good at housework.
Yeah. And I think like how can like running a business, people make fun of us sometimes because it's like, you know, agents out there will be like, you don't cut your own yard, or you guys have somebody that comes and cleans once a week, or, you know, now recently we've hired a nanny to watch, because, you know,
it's like, I don't think you want me cutting my yard at midnight, because that's the only time I've got.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, sure. Like, but yeah, a lot of it has to be leveraged out, and that's okay with me. Like, we've got a lot of things that we have help with, and it's okay to ask for help too. You don't have to do it all.
I think that's a key thing for a lot of business owners, is understanding it's okay to ask for help. Because a lot of people, being an entrepreneur, sometimes you can carry the weight of everything. Yeah. Which I think we did for a while, but then we realized like, it's okay. Yeah. And focus on what you're good at.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I am not good at housework, so I have somebody that helps me do that. Yeah. And it's like, my mom loves housework. Yeah. My mom would die happy if she has like 16 vacuums.
Oh man.
So she just loves doing housework, and I'm like, well, that's like her hobby, you know? And so it's like, not mine.
I agree. It's like some of our neighbors cut their lawn, and they cut it like twice a week and fertilize it, and it looks phenomenal. I'm like, that's great. Yeah. I'm glad you do that. It's not my hobby. It's the last thing I want to do when I get home from a busy day is have to go outside and do yard work. So it's like, leverage that out. Hire it out. Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. No. And so I think focus on what you enjoy. I think there's a stigma around like even just owning your own business and being a business owner with it's not all about people like work-life balance. A lot of people talk about work-life balance, and do you have a work-life balance? I don't think there is a right answer for work-life balance. I think it's like whatever fills your cup. Yeah. Whatever makes you happy. If you want to work 14, 15 hours a day, then work 14, 15 hours a day. It's like, who has the right to tell you how you should actually live your life and what makes you happy? That's the cool thing about it. Yeah. It's like, you can do that if you want to. Yeah. So. And if you don't want to work that, then don't. Yeah. You know, it's like you really do have control. And I think a lot of people forget about that. Do you have any mentors that you look up to? Just my mom, coaches? Mostly. Like, yeah, you got a pretty powerful. Yeah. She coaches me a lot and tells me when I need to make different decisions. And that's cool. Yeah. What about like groups? Are you in any like business groups or anything like that? I used to be a part of one of the business groups here in town, but it just got to be too busy. Like, I had to because they met once a week, and like they were a great group of people, and I loved spending time with them. But it just got too busy. It was like right in the middle of the day, so I wasn't able to make it work. But it's hard to squeeze those things in. It really is. What do you guys like to do for like hobbies? What do you do outside of work? We really just like to chill. I mean, we've got 3 dogs. We love spending time with them, and I mean, work is tough, so we just like relaxing and doing our thing. I mean, going out to dinner sometimes. Like, we are pretty chill in our off time. Yeah, that's how we are. And I've realized, like, being a business owner, we spend time with people that are actually like just in our business. Like when agents come into the business, they leave the business and stuff. And it's like, we develop good relationships with them, but it's hard to continue those relationships once they're outside of the business. Not that we don't want to, but you're just so busy that it's hard. It is. And so understanding that aspect, and that can be hard for a lot of people that start their own business. Their friends will be like, you never come around anymore. You never do that. It's like, it's not that I don't want to, it's just the time is so limited. And so do you guys have, now that you've taken weekends off, has that helped a ton with kind of your mental health and just for sure growing the business stuff? Yep. I feel like I'm more like ready to take on the week. And it's funny because even if I have something like a party or something happen on the weekends when it's like my time and I like feel this obligation to go do something, I can tell the rest of the week that kind of affected it. So whatever it is that happens on the weekends that, you know, recharges my brain is worth it, because and I don't know like what normally takes away from that or adds to it, but if I can just veg on the weekends, then the next week is better. Great. Yeah. It's so important. And that's something that I need to figure out how we can we can implement. Our coach, he's like, you just need at least one day a week where it's like you're just not working.
Yeah.
Because being in real estate, as you know, it's like 24/7.
Yeah.
It's like all the time. And so I think it's really cool that you've kind of built that business around that and you recognize that and then you transition it. That's the hardest thing for a lot of business owners is just figuring out how to transition. Like I haven't figured it out. Like I need to figure out how to make this happen. But it's so important for your mental health to not get burnt out. So what are last kind of things I want to just touch on? What are some tips that you'd give maybe somebody that's looking to start their own business that you've learned over the last 2 years of growing your business?
I would say just start. Like whatever it is, if it's something that you're so passionate about that you can build a business out of it, just do it. Like it may not be like the most lucrative or the most, whatever. Like people will tell you all the time, like, oh, that's not going to be successful or this isn't it. But like you can make it successful. Like you look at some of the Etsy shops and people that have built businesses off of making like these weird, bead lizards or whatever it may be, they make a good living off of that. And it's like, who would have thought? So I think that if you've got something that you're passionate enough about, you just need to do it.
Do it.
You've got that like feeling for a reason.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people think about when they're starting a business, like that they need this grand idea. Yeah. This like new business. It's like,
and you don't. And the other thing is like you can spend an eternity thinking like, okay, once I'm this good, then I'll start the business. And it's like, I look at my very first sets of pictures and it's embarrassing. Like, and I'm sure the agents at the time were just like, oh, thank you. Like these look great. And like, now I look back and I'm like, oh, like if I put out that product today, they'd be like, what happened? Like, was she sick or, so I think that it's okay to not be the best when you get started. Just start.
Yeah. And people call it analysis paralysis. Mm-hmm. So many people that talk about starting a business for years and never actually get going. It's like, imagine if you were still just talking about starting your photography business. It's like the last 3 years would not have happened.
Yeah.
And for you, it's like that last 3 years has been probably life-changing.
Yeah.
3 years is not a long time. It's like start doing something and let time work in your favor. Yeah. And it'll go by fast. 3 years is going to go by either way.
Yeah.
So you might use it, building your business and doing what you enjoy. So, no, that's super, super cool. Where do people find you on like social media? What's your Instagram handles?
Yeah. So my business Instagram is Roisum Residential and it's ROISUM. It's kind of a weird last name. So Roisum. Yep. Yes. And Facebook, same thing, Roisum Residential. And then Style House is the staging company. That one's Style House, Idaho, both on Instagram and Facebook. And then I have my personal ones as well, which is Mrs. Haley Roisum. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys, first I want to thank you for coming on here.
Thank you.
And sharing your journey, sharing your story. There's a lot of golden nuggets in there for a lot of people to follow. So, and if you guys want to connect more with Haley, connect with her on Instagram, shoot her a DM. She will get back to you. She's busy though, so no, she's busy, but she will eventually get back to you. Last thing, any last tips or advice that you want to share before we break off?
No, just get out there, do it.
Get out there and do it. I love that. Yeah. And trust me, like 3 years of hard work could change your life.
My life is completely different.
And I'm excited to watch your journey where you're going to be in the next 5 years because with what you've accomplished now, it's going to be impressive. So get out there and do it. Go after your dreams. So again, thanks, Haley. Thanks for coming on. Until next time, guys. We'll catch you later.
Don't listen to people who lose or you'll do the same. Stop talking to people who don't give a what you saying. Stop spending your money on weed. Go hop on a plane. Stop pointing the finger and start taking some of the blame. Let me put you on game. Control your emotions. Most of the time, it's really not worth it. Don't be ashamed and beat yourself up for not being perfect.